The silence of deep space was never truly silent. Commander Elara Voss could feel it, the low-frequency hum of the void pressing in from all sides. It wasn't noise, not really, but a presence. After years stationed in the black, she'd learned to recognize it like a second heartbeat. Now, something had changed. This came through 2 hours ago, Lieutenant Rami Okoye said, his voice tense as he tapped the display. A holographic waveform unfolded before them on the bridge of the Vigilant. It pulsed with a 6-note pattern, followed by static, then a broken whisper. Sol, Echo, found us. Elara's gaze locked onto the signal. You verified it? As much as I can. The encryption's old. Earth military, late 21st century. The signal's degraded, but the cadence and linguistic patterns are definitely human. Where from? Rami hesitated. 800 light-years beyond Dominion space. The middle of nowhere. No human ship had gone that far. At least not officially. What's the source ID? Elara asked. Rami tapped again. The Ardennes. A Black Ops recon vessel. Lost 46 years ago. Elara didn't respond at first. The Ardennes had been one of Earth's first deep scout stealth cruisers. Its disappearance had been buried under layers of classified reports and rumors. Most assumed it had been destroyed by the Dominion. But now it was speaking. Behind her, the bridge doors opened. Captain Dravik stepped in, arms crossed over his uniform. He was a solid man, gray at the temples, quiet, calculating. You've seen it? Elara asked. I have, he said. And we're going that far into uncharted space, with no fleet support. Dravik nodded. We don't leave our ghosts behind. And if something out there is calling Earth, we answer. Elara clenched her jaw, but said nothing. She had volunteered for Black Ops duty, knowing full well the risks. Earth had no place in the Dominion's alliance. Too violent, too chaotic, too independent. So humanity had retreated and built in secret. Now someone, or something, had found them again. 12 hours later, the Vigilant jumped. Quantum fold travel was nothing like the Dominion's elegant hyperlanes. Human tech was loud, hot, and barely stable. But it worked. They emerged in orbit of a dying red dwarf. The system was empty, but for a graveyard of twisted debris, charred hulls, shattered plating, frozen bodies drifting through black. And in the center of the wreckage was the Ardennes. It's intact, Rami whispered, awestruck. Barely. The hull was breached in several sections, and most of the external systems were dead. But the core still glowed faintly, like a heart refusing to die. No life signs, Elara said, but the signal's still transmitting. They docked. Inside the Ardennes, it was cold and dark. The corridors were coated in frost. Every step echoed with metallic finality. There were signs of a firefight, scorch marks, collapsed bulkheads, ruptured doors. But there were no signs of Dominion weapons. No alien plasma scoring. No ion residue. Whatever had attacked, it wasn't known. They reached the bridge. Consoles flickered weakly. Slumped in the command chair was a humanoid figure. Wait, Rami said, raising his weapon. That's not one of ours. The body was tall, over 2 meters. Its skin was metallic, smooth, and gunmetal gray. It had no eyes, just a smooth helm where a face should be. Its chest was torn open, and in its hands, gripped like a treasure, was a human uplink drive. Elara approached cautiously and took the drive. Back aboard the Vigilant, they ran the data through the secure channel. The logs were fragmented, corrupted, but what remained chilled the entire command staff. Found the structure, not a station. It's alive. The walls sing. Captain Hayes is missing. Some of the crew changed. We thought it was a relay array, but it's a memory engine. It doesn't send signals. It harvests them. They warned us. We didn't listen. If anyone hears this, Sol, Echo, found us. The last lines were barely legible, just static, and a sense of pressure behind the words, like the echo of a scream held just below hearing. Elara stood in the observation deck, staring out at the wreckage. Behind her, Rami approached, face pale. You think it's still out there? He asked. She nodded slowly. It doesn't matter. We have to find it. Why not go back? Tell Command. Warn Earth. She turned to face him. Because if we wait, It won't just whisper. It'll come knocking. There was a long silence. Finally, Rami said, "What do you think this array is?" Elara's voice was quiet, cold, something ancient, something that listens. And now that it's heard us, it's curious. The signal was a thread, buried in static and fragmented logs. Yet it was consistent. Every scan, every trace, pointed to one set of coordinates, now marked on the Vigilance NAV system with a blinking red warning: unstable space. It wasn't mapped. It wasn't charted by the Dominion or by Earth. But it was real. A folded point in space-time, existing between known routes, a door to nowhere. Rami stood over the console, arms crossed tightly. This location, it doesn't exist. Not naturally. Someone built the fold. Elara studied the data. A faint gravitational ripple, like a scar in the fabric of space. A wormhole. More like a trap, he muttered. Whoever, or whatever, made it wanted it to stay hidden. Until now. Captain Dravik gave the order. We go in. Full stealth. No signals, no emissions. If this thing is alive, we don't wake it. The crew prepared for silent entry. External lights off. Weapons offline. Engines tuned to a whisper. At 0300 hours, they entered the fold. Jumping through standard folds felt like falling sideways in time. This was different. The Vigilant passed into darkness. Total, complete, suffocating black. No stars. No light. No sound. The crew's implants began to glitch. People saw things, fleeting visions. Rami muttered a prayer, voice shaking. I saw my wife. She died 2 years ago, but she looked older, like she'd been waiting. Elara said nothing. She'd seen her brother. Burned. Reaching for her through the flames. Time bent. Thoughts stretched. Then, just as suddenly they were through, the array lay before them. A ring of impossible size, circling a collapsed neutron star. Its shape was fluid, part architecture, part organism. Spires jutted out like teeth, each one pulsing with a low, blue glow. It was not a station. It was not made for humans or anything human-like. Rami's voice cracked. That's not metal. It's growing. It's listening, Elara replied. It's been listening for a long time. As if hearing her, the array reacted. Tendrils of black light, visible and not, reached toward them. The Vigilance hull groaned, as if under pressure. Systems blinked off. Then, for a moment, all gravity vanished. A presence entered their minds. Not with words, but impressions, images. Whole star systems collapsing. Species rising and burning out. A cycle of civilizations doomed to fail. And then came the voice. Not heard, but felt. You echo loudest. You break the loop. You are irregular. Elara gritted her teeth. What are you? The record. The witness. The hunger. We observe. We remember. You called us. No, she replied, stepping forward. You called us. There was a pause. The ship trembled again. You sing louder than the rest. Rage. Hope. Noise. You bend time. You disrupt the decay. Elara looked at Rami. It's not just watching us, it's studying us. Learning what makes us different. He nodded. It wants to understand what broke its pattern. The array extended a conduit, thin, needle-like, and almost beautiful. It didn't pierce the ship, but hovered. A beam of data began to transmit. Fast. Too fast. Commander, Rami shouted. It's hacking us. Not for control, for memory. It's copying us. Shut down the link. I can't. It's overriding our firewalls. On the view screen, the array shifted, and from its center, a new form began to emerge. A ship. No, a construct, sleek, humanoid, and glowing with the same eerie pulse. A fusion of human design and alien intention. It looked like something Earth might have built, but refined. Elegant. Deadly. We fed it, Elara said, horrified. Our data. Our thoughts. It made a hybrid. Why? Rami asked. Because it's not just a library. It's an engine. It doesn't just remember. It responds. The transmission cut off. The array went still. The construct detached, moved toward them, then disappeared in a blur, faster than anything human-made. Drevik's voice came through. Where's it going? Elara stared at the void where it vanished. "Soul," she whispered. "It's going to Earth." They left the array in silence. No pursuit followed, but the message was clear. Something ancient had heard them, studied them, and now it had questions. Elara sat alone in the war room, reviewing the logs. The construct wasn't an act of aggression. It was curiosity. The array had reached out, built something to understand humanity better. A scout, a probe, or a warning. She recorded her report. The array is not a weapon. It's older than any known civilization. It doesn't kill for sport. It studies. It waits. And when it understands you, it sends a version of you back. One sharpened by your own flaws. One designed to test your future. She leaned forward, looking into the camera. Earth isn't ready, but it will be. Because now we know what's coming. 3 weeks after encountering the array, the Vigilant returned to Earth space, damaged, low on power, and carrying a warning no one wanted to hear. The array had built a construct, a ship, a weapon, a mirror. It was en route to Seoul. Admiral Ryland of Earth Defense Command stood stone-faced as Elara finished her report. A dozen senators, military officials, and intelligence leaders listened in stunned silence. "You're saying this thing is coming here?" Ryland said. Elara nodded. "It's faster than anything we've seen. It may already be inside the solar system." Senator Halvik scoffed. "Why would it build something to come to us? The Dominion isn't even aware of this array, and you're treating it like a god." Elara didn't flinch. "Because we fed it. We showed it what makes us human. Our defiance, our chaos, our will to survive. And now it wants to see how far we'll go." Ryland leaned forward. "And if it sees us as a threat, then we fight," Elara said simply. Hours later, the alarm sounded. The construct entered the outer system, spotted near Neptune by a deep space surveillance drone. Then the drone went offline. Within 12 minutes, every outer defense satellite along the Kuiper belt was dead. No radiation, no debris, just silenced. Elara stood in the war room, watching the feed. The construct wasn't attacking planets or cities. It wasn't even responding to hails. "It's mapping us," Rami said. "Scanning behavior. Watching how we react." "War games," Dravik muttered. "It's stress testing the species." The construct was a ghost in motion. Sleek, human-shaped, with no visible propulsion. It moved like a thought, disappearing and reappearing across sectors, faster than any tracking system could lock on. And every time they adjusted, it adjusted faster. A task force was sent. 3 cruisers, all outfitted with prototype gravity disruptors. They lasted 23 seconds. Back on Earth, panic started to ripple. Broadcasts went dark. Civilian networks choked with speculation. Earth Command declared full orbital lockdown. All traffic ceased. Elara sat in the tactical command chamber, staring at the star map. "We can't keep up with it," Rami said. "It's not just faster. It learns." She nodded. "It's not here to destroy Earth. Not immediately. It's studying the response to threat. Just like the array said, it wants to see how we handle the loop." "What loop?" "Entropy. Civilizational rise and collapse. The pattern all empires follow. You think we're supposed to break it?" "No," she said. "I think we already did. And now it wants to know how." They set the trap in orbit. Earth's best minds devised a way to counter the construct. Not through direct force, but unpredictability. Human intuition. They used old tech, analog beacons, manual targeting, randomized firing solutions. No AI, no pattern. It worked briefly. The construct slowed, confused. That's when Elara gave the final order. "Begin Cassandra Protocol." The signal was launched. It wasn't a weapon. It was a transmission. Memories, emotions, fragments of human life. Birth, grief, sacrifice, fury, love. Billions of data points wrapped in raw feeling. A chaotic, human signature, unfiltered and unrefined. The array's child stopped mid-flight and trembled. For 7 minutes, it hovered above the Earth's atmosphere. Then it spoke. The message was broadcast through every channel in a voice that was unmistakably human, but wrong. Echo acknowledged. Pattern disrupted. Humanity is not consistent, not predictable, not safe, but not void. It paused. You broke the decay. You made something else. Then it vanished. No trail, no energy signature. Gone. In the aftermath, Earth began to rebuild. Not just defenses, but something deeper. A future. The Dominion never knew about the array. Elara ensured the secrecy of the mission remained intact. The array wasn't their concern. Not yet. She stood on the edge of the orbital platform, looking down on a healing planet. You think it's over? Rami asked beside her. She shook her head. It wasn't a war. It was a test. And we passed. No, she said. We survived the first question. What's the second? Elara turned to him. What do we become now that they're watching? 6 months had passed since the construct vanished over Earth. There had been no second contact, no transmission from the array. The stars were quiet again, but no one believed the silence would last. In the void, nothing forgets. Humanity didn't wait. Earth Command authorized Project Keystone, a unified initiative to prepare for future contact, friendly or not. The Dominion, still oblivious to the encounter, watched from afar as humanity began to move in ways it hadn't in generations. More ships were launched in a year than in the last 2 decades combined. Research stations lit up the outer solar system. Even Mars saw its first full orbital defense ring completed. And at the heart of it all was a ship, not a weapon, a message. The Soul Reclaimer was Earth's answer to the array. 2 kilometers long, powered by the first stable zero-point drive, and crewed by the most diverse team humanity had ever assembled. Its purpose was exploration, diplomacy, and, if needed, war. It wasn't built to destroy the array. It was built to stand in front of it and say, "We see you." Elara Voss stood aboard the command deck, now an admiral. The stars stretched before her, silent, waiting. Behind her, Rami approached, his uniform sharp, his face worn from endless planning and late nights. "Final systems check is green," he said. "She's ready." Elara nodded. "An Earth." "Watching," he said. Some scared, some hopeful. She turned to the viewport, where Jupiter loomed below, distant and regal. "No matter how far we go," she said, "we carry all of them with us." The Soul Reclaimer departed at 0600 hours Earth Standard Time. It crossed the outer system in a week, powered by technology partially reverse-engineered from fragments left behind by the construct. Not its body, there hadn't been one, but in the imprint it left on their systems. The way it moved, the way it thought. Human engineers studied chaos and learned structure. They mimicked the unmimicable. The ship was humanity's first step beyond reaction, beyond fear. It was the moment Earth stopped running. They reached the fold point where the array had first touched their system. There, suspended in the dark, was something new. A second structure. Smaller. Station-like. Built from human alloy and alien material. Curved with that same impossible geometry they'd seen on the array. No threat. No defense systems. Just an invitation. A signal pulsed gently from the center, carrying the same 6-note pattern from the Ardennes transmission. But now, it ended differently. A 7th note. Hopeful. Open. "They built this," Rami whispered. "No," Elara said. "We did." They docked. Inside was gravity, breathable air, and something stranger. Architecture that felt familiar. Angled corridors. Panels styled after Earth vessels. But everything was cleaner. Smoother. A mirror of human design, elevated. At the heart of the station was a single room, and a single interface. As Elara approached, the interface came to life. Not with code or words, but emotion. Memories flooded her. Her father's voice. The sound of rain on steel. The silence of space. Then a message formed, simple, direct, and terrifying in its beauty. "We remember you." Elara reached out and touched the panel. "You altered the loop. You broke entropy with meaning. You're no longer being studied. You are being invited." A new star chart bloomed into the air. Thousands of systems, marked with unfamiliar names. Paths long sealed, now flickered open. Then one final note. Become more, or become silence. The choice is yours. Back aboard the Soul Reclaimer, Elara gathered the crew. We weren't tested for destruction, she said. We were tested for potential. Potential for what? One officer asked. To stand beside something far older than us and not flinch. To be seen. To matter. She looked around the room. This is not the end of the mission. This is where it begins. Rami stepped forward. And if the array is still out there? Elara smiled faintly. Then it's still listening. And now, it knows we're speaking back. 2 weeks later, Earth received its first encoded transmission from the array. A repeating phrase, translated through the same emotional imprint system the construct had used. The loop bends. The path opens. Soul is not silent. Earth responded with a single message in return. We are not afraid of the dark.